by saying that I know this kind gentleman because we go to treatment court together and recovery meetings. I met him through the program, but more importantly, he is a first sergeant of the United States Army. He is 100% disabled with complex PTSD after 7 deployments. His name is Lamar Bruce Spees. We call him Bruce, but apparently everyone in the military calls him Top. So anyway, I've gotten the privilege to get to know Bruce over the past few months, and he started a book in that process called Built for the Battle. And so he posts all the time about excerpts from his new book. And let me tell you, they are incredible excerpts. So much so that it has me watching and reading every day that he posts. He is a hell of a writer, but besides that, he was a hell of a soldier, and he is a hell of a soldier in the recovery movement because he continues his work in helping people by helping fellow addicts, helping people that have PTSD that are veterans and enter the program, because we are part of mental health and drug court. Personally, myself, I was arrested 1.5 years ago, and that's what brought me to this program. I'd never been arrested before in my life, but I found myself in that position. So I hear my mother just got home. So Bruce had to come to my house to do this interview, y'all.
The dog just walked by.
Oh. Anyway, so he's sitting in my living room right now. But that was the only way we could figure out how to get him on here and be able to PK and you guys be able to see him clearly and hear him clearly.
20 years of active duty military service. I had 7 combat deployments, hundreds of lives led, dozens of funerals attended, and Bronze Star with Valor for heroism in combat. There's not too much in the military I didn't do. I'm here because I survived what came after. It wasn't all about the military, but that is my background from the military. I've been about 20 years out of the military. And that survival, that brutal, relentless, ugly, glorious survival is why I speak now. I wasn't made in basic training. I was made in a garage back in Pennsylvania, old funeral parlor in New Philadelphia. My house wasn't normal by any stretch. It echoed with sobs, not laughter, in the garage out back where they used to prep dead bodies. My father built a ring in there, a boxing ring. He hung a heavy bag and turned it into a training ground for me from age 8 all the way till I ran away at 17. My father was a 20-year Navy vet himself, and championship boxer in the Navy, and he was an abuser, physically, emotionally, spiritually, you name it. My mother, my brother was 8 years older than me, ran away when I was 16. He didn't believe in parenting, he believed in forging. That's just the way he did things. When he came to join the service, in truth, I graduated high school at 17. He had thrown me out in December of my senior year. A dead sprint, actually, I outran him as he chased me physically. Got away, moved into a relative's house to finish my schooling, and I went to work in Philadelphia in a construction field, International Union of Operating Engineers. I did that for a couple of years. This is the mid-'80s, early 80s, mid-'80s. Our economy was tanked. There was practically no work. Even though I was working in the summertime and good weather, come the wintertime, there just wasn't work. Union has a pecking order, last in, first out type thing, and come the wintertime, I'd be laid off. And that's a long layoff. Unemployment benefits ran about 6 months. I'd be laid off in September, wouldn't go back to work till about April. So I decided that just wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. Even though the pay was good when I was working, it just wasn't what I saw as a future. At that time, I decided to join the military. My intention was to do 4 years and get out. To get the military benefits and get out, take advantage of those, and either go into law enforcement or whatever my future would be at that point. Once I got into the military, I realized it was for me. I mean, it was absolutely 100% for me. I was built to be in the military. I was trained to be in the military from being a little kid. Where other people struggled, it was a piece of cake for me. I'd already learned how to roll things up and be measured a certain way. I had Saturday morning inspections at age 8 till I left my house. If I didn't pass the inspections, I didn't go out. It was an incredibly regimented lifestyle. So getting in the military, physically, I was trained already. And I'd had that. So, yelling at me, screaming at me, I just kept it moving. And it just really worked out for me. I had a very, successful start to the military. And I come out of an incredibly abusive life. I don't think I could possibly put in exact words, but by age 10, I was sparring against older men, grown men, men in their 20s and stuff like that. That was just part of my father's discipline. I wasn't allowed to show pain. By 13, I'd already chipped a tooth and had, boxed for 4, 5, 6 years at that time. By 17, I was homeless and on the street, starting my life. He used to say things like, act like a man or I'll beat the boy out of you. Pain was something that was not tolerated. I was not allowed to show pain. If I showed pain, he beat me further. If I showed love, that was a crisis. That was a crisis. If I showed any emotions like that he considered weakness, like love, sharing, caring. I use an example that when he came back into my house at age 8, my parents divorced when I was 4, remarried again when I was 8. My mother didn't know what else to do from a housewife her entire life. So he came back in and we had this dog, this puppy, and she had an eating disorder. She just never stopped eating. And she started getting heavier and heavier and heavier. As a puppy, she struggled to get to her feet. So I'm sitting on the back porch one day playing with the puppy, and he came home from work. He walked out of the garage, seeing me on the porch, about 30 feet, 40 feet between us. I went back in the garage, he came out. He got a pistol. I thought it was a starter pistol used to train hunting dogs. He came down to the back porch, stood off the porch, and called the dog down to him. And he shot the dog in the head, right in front of me.
Oh, Jesus.
And he shot the dog in the head, and he said, "You're getting too damn close to that dog. Get back in the house." He didn't like the fact that I was sitting there petting and playing with the puppy, that I was being affectionate with the puppy. This wasn't allowed.
God, Bruce.
That's pretty, that one usually hits home. That sums it up. Now picture that across the board. He never once gave me a hug. He never once told me he loved me. He never once told me good job. He never once complimented me. There was never anything like that in the parenting from his side. None. It was strictly discipline, training, and abuse, really, mental and physical.
So coming out of being a child abused like that, I can't imagine. It must have almost felt like joining the military was like coming home. Like it was easy. It was easy. I didn't know anything else. You got to realize that was my entire life. I was raised like that. I didn't know anything else. So going in the military, like you said, coming home, to me, it wasn't abusive. It was easy. It was, where other people struggled, it was easy. When people were crying the first couple of weeks of basic training, I was wondering what they were crying about. When people were stressing out and worrying about this or worried about that, my locker was perfect, ready for inspection. My uniform was perfect, ready for inspection. My physical fitness level was above average. It was just easy. It was easy for me. Where others was hard. Well, you've had a few fellow service members come in. Vixen just came in. She was in our season 5 about addiction and sobriety through singing. So you've got some fellow servicemen here. All right, servicemen and women. But so as you said that you suffered severe childhood abuse. I would say that probably by the time you entered the military, you had developed a coldness to yourself because that was your survival, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I did not show emotion. I did not, other than, anger or stuff like that, to get in a fight. But I never even shed a tear from childhood, from when I wasn't allowed to, all the way to, I think I was 38, the first time I shed a tear in regular society about something.
Oh,
and it was when my emotions first started coming into play. Prior to that, I was just solid I was just a stone. I was a machine. People would call me Sergeant Rock. People would call me the machine. They had all kinds of names for me because they just couldn't believe how I functioned. And to me, it was normal. I didn't put any effort into functioning like that. That was normal functioning for me. I was trained every day of my life to function a certain way. And that's how I functioned.
You guys, if you hear it echo, it's because he's in my house. Come on, Britt.
But, you know, for those people that don't know about the military side of it,
God.
you know, I climbed through the ranks rather quicker. I was a sergeant. I had 3 years of service when most people weren't even making sergeant. The promotions were frozen because of money. I was battlefield promoted in Panama after the first night of the invasion. They call it frocking to the next rank. I hadn't yet even officially made the rank, but they pinned me with it. I was put in charge of a squad of troops at age 21, where I was the machine gunner the night before. And the guys in the group, and one gal, they wanted me as their squad leader. They knew that I knew this stuff inside and out, and that I was more prepared to do this than they were. It's not bragging, it's just I was an absolute machine. That's what I did. At every school I ever attended in the military, and they have them throughout your ranks, I always graduated about 10%. I was leadership award at TLDC, the leadership award at drill sergeant school. I won drill sergeant of the year. All the accolades that come from a very, very stellar career. And once again, that's natural to me. I didn't have to put any effort into it, I guess. If anything, I was lazy sometimes when it came to schools. I took the schooling as a break. Anytime they sent me to a school where there was a chance of failure and being kicked out, I took it as a break. I worked harder day to day. I stayed out there doing things at a level that far exceeded any school they sent me to. It just wasn't even close. Even the Jungle Expert School, even the SEER School, which is survival, escape, and espionage and resistance, even airborne schools up in airplanes, all those schools, I did them all. I graduated high in every one of them. They were easy to me. They were never a challenge, never.
Do you think maybe, and let's go back to childhood abuse because we're talking about PTSD. I think that's relevant. And for everybody joining, thank you for coming. Please share this interview. I think it could help a lot of people that have PTSD to understand some things, not just military. And this isn't about just American military. So if you know people in any country, in military or first responders, please share with them this broadcast. So we are interviewing Bruce Fees. I am Nikki Leigh, and I know Bruce from a local program that we're both in for recovery. So Bruce, let me say this. So you talk about childhood abuse, and you've talked about that PTSD that you went into the military with, and that made you an overachiever, correct?
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Yeah. I'll give another example. Came home from the military, and my father spoke to me for the first time about 4 or 5 years. We had a dinner table. We were at a common dinner table, and at the dinner table, he out of nowhere in the conversation, he did not hide how he raised me. In fact, he was quite proud of how I turned out, and he wasn't ashamed of it. I came from a very backward coal mines of Pennsylvania upbringing that was very different than most people experience. DSS didn't exist. There was no social services or anything like that. But he said, listen, I stopped hitting Bruce with the belt because it stopped hurting him. And that's when I began punching him. I punched him because the belt no longer hurt him. Which I was sitting at the table and I chuckled and laughed. I said I wasn't allowed to show if it hurt or not. If I showed it hurt, you beat me worse. And now you use that as your excuse for punching me. Whatever. I can assure you this. I was able to take a punch from a grown man at age 10. And look at you like you hit a wall, like it didn't even happen.